The space station Nexus Prime floated like a giant metal flower in the darkness between stars. Its 12 arms stretched out in perfect circles, each one built by a different alien race. Ships from across the galaxy docked at these arms, bringing their best technology to show off at the Galactic Technology Exchange. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship, the Aurora's Edge, and watched the other vessels arrive. The Xanthari ships looked like liquid metal that flowed through space. They bent and twisted as they moved, using some kind of science that made space itself fold around them. The Vexti brought their bioships, which looked more like giant sea creatures than spacecraft. These living vessels pulsed with green light and seemed to breathe as they floated toward the station. The Karthik ships were the strangest of all. They looked like flying crystals, all sharp edges and bright colors. They moved without any visible engines, powered by energy that Jake could not understand. Even the smaller ships from other races looked impossibly advanced. They had smooth curves, no visible weapons, and moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. Then there was the Aurora's Edge. Jake's ship looked like what it was. It's a big metal box with engines stuck on the back. It had thick armor, plating, visible weapon turrets, and exhaust ports that glowed orange from the fusion reactors inside. Next to the elegant alien ships, it looked like a flying brick. "Captain, we're getting some interesting looks from the other ships," said Lisa. Hayes, his chief engineer. She was a small woman with grease stains on her uniform and tools hanging from her belt. Lisa had built and rebuilt every system on their ship with her own hands. "Let them look," Jake replied. "We earned our place here just like everyone else." Robert Kane, their diplomat, walked up to join them at the window. He was nervous, constantly checking his tablet and adjusting his formal blue uniform. "Captain, I have to ask again. Are you sure about this? The technology we're bringing to show... It's going to look very basic compared to what these other races have." Jake nodded toward the docking bay. "Robert, we're not here to impress anyone. We're here to learn and to show what humans can do. Our tech might look simple, but it works." Duh. Aurora's Edge docked with a loud clang that echoed through the ship. The alien vessels had docked silently, sliding into place like they were made of air. Jake's ship sounded like a construction site as the mechanical docking clamps grabbed hold and locked into place. They walked through the airlock and into the main exhibition hall of Nexus Prime. The space was enormous, with a clear dome overhead that showed the stars. Floating platforms displayed technology from each race. Jake and his team made their way to the human section, which looked embarrassingly small compared to the others. The Xanthari platform floated in the air without any support. Their quantum phase drive sat in the center, a device that looked like a metal sphere covered in moving patterns. Commander Vexi, the Xanthari representative, was explaining to a crowd how the drive could make space fold in on itself, letting ships travel faster than light without actually moving. "The secret is in understanding that space and time are the same thing," Vexi said in his musical voice. "We simply convince the universe that our destination is actually where we already are." A few platforms over, the Vexti were showing off their biotechnology. Their ships were not built. They were grown. The creatures that served as their vessels could heal from any damage and adapt to new threats. They had no computers because the ships themselves could think and make decisions. The Karthik display was the most impressive of all. Their zero-point energy extractor was a beautiful crystal sculpture that somehow pulled power directly from empty space. It could generate unlimited energy without any fuel or moving parts. Crystal Singer, Dexfer, their representative, demonstrated by powering the entire lighting system for their section with a device no bigger than Jake's fist. Then, visitors would walk to the human section and stop. Jake watched their faces change from wonder to confusion to barely hidden amusement. The human display looked like the inside of a machine shop. They had brought a small fusion reactor, a chemical rocket engine, and various mechanical devices. Everything was made of metal and plastic, with visible bolts, wires, and moving parts. "Is this some kind of historical exhibit?" asked a tall, thin alien with silver skin. Jake did not recognize the species. "No. This is our current technology," Lisa replied proudly. She started up the rocket engine, which roared to life with a blast of flame and smoke. Several aliens jumped back in surprise. Commander Vex High floated over to their section, his form shifting colors as he moved. Fascinating. You still use controlled explosions for propulsion? How ... traditional? It works, Jake said simply. Oh, I am sure it does, Vexi replied with what might have been a smile. But surely you can see how inefficient it is. Our drives require no fuel, create no waste, and can achieve speeds your chemical systems could never reach. Crystal Singer Vexfer approached, her crystalline body ringing like bells as she walked. The humans appear to still be in their mechanical phase of development, brute force solutions rather than elegant energy manipulation. More aliens gathered around the human display, drawn by the noise and spectacle of their demonstrations. Lisa showed them how the fusion reactor worked, explaining the magnetic containment fields and plasma injection systems. The aliens listened politely, but Jake could see them exchange glances. To them, human technology looked like something from a museum. High Counselor Murdish of the Altarians joined the growing crowd. She was known throughout the galaxy for her diplomatic skills and wisdom. Your technology is certainly robust, she said carefully. Perhaps with a few more centuries of development, humanity will discover more refined approaches to these challenges. The words stung, even though they were meant kindly. Jake kept his expression neutral, but inside he felt the familiar burn of being underestimated. Humans had fought their way to the stars using nothing but determination and engineering. They had earned their place in this gathering through blood, sweat, and countless hours of hard work. Our technology might look simple, Jake said to the assembled crowd, but it has one advantage over all of yours. And what is that? Asked Vex High, his colors shifting to what Jake had learned was amusement. It cannot be easily stopped. Yes. The aliens laughed, a sound like wind chimes and musical instruments. They did not understand what Jake meant, and he did not explain further. Lisa was showing a group of younger aliens how to use a wrench when her tablet started beeping. She looked at the screen and frowned. Captain, you need to see this. Jake walked over and looked at her readings. The long-range sensors were picking up something at the edge of the system. Ships moving very fast, but not using any of the faster-than-light methods that any known race used. How many? Jake asked quietly. I cannot tell yet. The signatures are strange. Whatever they are big, and there are a lot of them. Jake looked around at the aliens, still admiring their advanced technology and laughing at human engineering. He had a feeling they were all about to learn exactly why humans built their machines to be tough, simple, and very hard to break. The unknown fleet was still hours away. But Jake could feel something change in the air. The exhibition continued. Around them, but Lisa kept checking her sensors with growing concern. Something was coming. And Jake suspected that all the elegant, advanced technology in the galaxy was about to face its biggest test. The alarm started as a low hum that quickly grew into a loud wail throughout Nexus. Prime? The exhibition hall fell silent as aliens stopped their conversations and looked around in confusion.
Ow.
Jake Morrison felt his stomach drop as he recognized the sound. It was the station's emergency alert system. Lisa Hayes looked up from her sensor readings, her face pale. Captain, those ships I detected. They just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. There are dozens of them, maybe more. Can you identify them? Jake asked, moving to look over her shoulder at the small portable scanner she had brought. No, sir. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. But Captain... Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. These ships are huge. The smallest one reads as big as a battleship. The largest... She paused and checked her readings again. The largest is showing up as moon-sized. Around them, the alien representatives were activating their own communication devices. The musical chatter of different languages filled the air as each species tried to contact their home fleets. Commander Vex High's form flickered through several colors before settling on what Jake had learned meant. Serious concern, the main viewing screen in the exhibition hall suddenly activated. Station Administrator Kelvis, a six-armed creature from the Nexus Council, appeared on the screen. His usually calm demeanor was gone, replaced by barely controlled panic. Attention all delegates and visitors. We have detected an unknown fleet. Approaching the station, all ships are ordered to remain docked until we can identify these vessels. We are attempting to establish communication. Jake watched as the screen switched to show the approaching fleet. Even at this distance, the ships looked wrong. They were dark, angular things that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved in perfect formation, like pieces of some giant mechanical puzzle sliding through space. "Have you ever seen anything like that?" Robert Kane asked. "Joining them at Lisa's scanner?" "No," Jake replied. "But I do not like the look of them." The answer came faster than anyone expected. The lead ship, the massive vessel that Lisa had said was moon-sized, suddenly lit up with what looked like scanning beams. Thin lines of red light swept across the system, touching each ship and station in turn.
Ow.
When the beams reached Nexus Prime, every piece of advanced alien technology in the exhibition hall started to flicker and spark. The Zenthari. Quantum Phase Drive began to emit a high-pitched whine. Commander Vexi rushed to his display, his colors cycling rapidly through what Jake recognized as alarm patterns. "This is impossible," he said. Something is interfering with our quantum field generators." At the Vexi section, their bioships were sending distress signals. The living vessels that served as their spacecraft were crying out in pain, their whole creatures writhing as if being tortured by some invisible force. The Vexi representatives were frantically trying to calm their ships, but nothing they did seemed to help. The Karthik zero-point energy extractor simply went dark. Crystal Singer Vexfer stood frozen as her beautiful crystalline technology stopped working entirely. "The quantum vacuum fluctuations have been dampened," she said in a voice like breaking glass. "Our power source has been neutralized." All around the exhibition hall, the advanced technologies that had been working perfectly moments before began to fail. Gravity generators flickered, causing some aliens to float helplessly. Translation devices stopped working, filling the air with confused voices speaking in languages no one else could understand. Even the station's life support systems began to show warning lights. But in the human section, everything continued to work normally. The fusion reactor hummed along steadily, its mechanical systems unaffected by whatever was disrupting the alien technology. The chemical rocket engine still fired when Lisa tested it, sending its familiar blast of flame and smoke into the designated exhaust vent. "This is Station Administrator Kelvis," came a crackling voice over the damaged communication system. "The unknown fleet is broadcasting a message. Putting it through now." The voice that filled the exhibition hall was flat, mechanical, and completely without emotion. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, but there was something wrong about it, as if the words were being generated by a machine that did not understand their meaning. "We are the Devourer Collective. You have been evaluated. Your technology will be processed. Your civilizations will be absorbed. Resistance is pointless. You have 1 standard hour to prepare for processing." Silence fell over the exhibition hall, then the panic started. The Zenthari tried to activate their quantum phase drives to escape, but the engines would not respond. Their ships remained locked in their docking bays, as helpless as if they had never been built. Commander Vexi's form cycled through colors Jake had never seen before. The Vexi bioships were in even worse condition. Whatever the Devourer scanning beams had done, it was causing the living vessels physical pain. Some of the smaller ships had actually passed out, their biosigns dropping to barely detectable levels. Their crews could not leave because their ships were their only way to survive in space. The Karthik ships would not even power up. Crystal Singer Vexfer tried again and again to activate her vessel systems, but the beautiful crystal technology remained dark and lifeless. "They have somehow severed our connection to the quantum foam," she said. "Without zero-point energy, our ships are just elaborate sculptures." One by one, every advanced alien race discovered the same terrible truth. Their elegant, sophisticated technology had been neutralized by the Devourer Collective. Ships that could fold space, manipulate time, and channel unlimited energy were now as useful as expensive decorations. Jake watched the growing desperation around him and felt a cold realization settle in his stomach. The Devourers had not attacked randomly. They'd studied galactic civilization and found a way to counter every advanced technology at once. Quantum drives, biotechnology, energy manipulation, even the station's artificial gravity, all of it had been neutralized by whatever the Devourer ships had done. High Counselor Murdish appeared at Jake's shoulder, her diplomatic calm finally cracking. "Captain Morrison, your technology, is it still functioning?" Jake looked at Lisa, who nodded. "Yes, our systems are working fine." "How is that possible?" Murdish asked. "Every other technology in the station has been disabled. Maybe because ours is too simple for them to understand," Lisa said quietly. As if summoned by her words, the main screen activated again. This time it showed the Devourer fleet in detail. The ships were even more unsettling up close. They had no visible weapons, no obvious engines, and no markings of any kind. They were simply vast dark shapes that seemed to drink in the light around them. The largest ship, the moon-sized vessel, began to extend what looked like mechanical arms toward the disabled alien ships. Long, flexible appendages reached out through space, moving toward the helpless vessels like the tentacles of some cosmic predator. "They are beginning the processing," said a voice over the damaged communication system. Jake could not tell who was speaking, but the terror in the voice was clear. The first alien ship, a beautiful Altarian vessel with flowing curves and artistic decorations, was grabbed by one of the mechanical arms. The ship did not resist. It could not resist. As Jake watched in horror, the Devourer appendage began to pull the Altarian vessel toward the massive ship. "My God," Robert Kane whispered. "They are going to absorb it." More mechanical arms reached out, grabbing ship after ship. The advanced vessels that had looked so impressive just hours before were now helpless, prey, being dragged toward something unimaginably worse than destruction. Jake looked around the exhibition hall at the aliens, who had mocked human technology. Their elegant solutions in advanced sciences had not just failed, they had made them vulnerable. The Devourers had built their attacks specifically to counter sophisticated technology, but they had not planned for humans and their simple, mechanical, impossible-to-counter engineering. "Lisa," Jake said quietly, "get me a direct communication link to Earth Fleet Command. Use the backup radio system." "Sir, that will take several minutes to establish contact, and the signal will be weak. Do it anyway. And Robert, start gathering. The alien representatives, I think we need to have a very important conversation about the value of primitive technology." As the Devourer Collective continued to harvest the disabled alien ships, Jake realized that humanity's greatest weakness might just turn out to be their greatest strength. Lisa Hayes worked frantically at her portable radio equipment, the only communication system still functioning on the entire station. The device looked ancient compared to the quantum entanglement communicators the aliens had been using, but it was the only thing that could reach Earth through the interference the Devourer ships were creating. "Earth Fleet Command. This is Captain Morrison aboard Nexus Prime. Do you copy?" Jake spoke into the old-fashioned microphone, feeling strange using such basic technology. While surrounded by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, static filled the air for several long seconds. Then a familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Jake, this is Admiral Patricia Hughes. We have been monitoring the situation. Those Devourer ships showed up on our long-range sensors about an hour ago." Jake felt relief wash over him. Admiral. Hughes had been his commanding officer for 10 years and was one of the smartest tactical minds in Earth Fleet. If anyone could figure out how to deal with this situation, it would be her. "Admiral, the alien ships are completely disabled. Whatever the Devourers did, it knocked out every piece of advanced technology on the station, except ours." "Confirmed, Jake. We have been running analysis on the Devourer scanning beams. They appear to disrupt quantum field interactions, bioneural networks, and zero-point energy fluctuations. Basically, they have found a way to neutralize every form of advanced technology in the galaxy." Around Jake, the alien representatives had gathered in a tight group. Commander Vexhai flickered through colors that Jake had never seen before. Crystal Singer Thexiver stood motionless, her crystalline form dim without power. High Counselor Murdish looked older than Jake had ever seen her, the weight of her species' helplessness showing in every line of her face. "What about our technology?" Jake asked into the radio. Admiral Hoose's voice carried a note of grim satisfaction. "That is the interesting part, Jake. Our mechanical systems, chemical engines, and electrical circuits are completely unaffected. The Devourers built their weapon to counter advanced civilizations. They never prepared for someone still using what they consider primitive technology." Jake looked at the disabled alien ships being pulled toward the massive Devourer vessel. "Admiral, we need help here. They're starting to process the alien ships." "Already on the way, Jake. I am bringing the entire Third Fleet. We should reach your position in 6 hours. Will that be fast enough?" Jake asked, watching another alien vessel disappear into the belly of the Devourer mothership. "It will have to be. Jake, I need you to do something for me. Start retrofitting the station systems with human technology. Replace their quantum computers with mechanical ones. Swap out their energy systems with electrical generators. Jake, that station worked the old-fashioned way." Jake looked around at the exhibition hall full of failed alien technology. "Admiral, I'm not sure we have enough equipment for that. Use what you displayed at the exhibition. Cannibalize parts from your ship if you have to. Lisa knows how to make anything work. Give her some tools, and she will turn that space station into something the Devourers cannot touch." Lisa was already gathering tools from their display, her mind clearly working on the problem. "Captain, I can do it, but I will need help. And I will need access to the station's core systems." High Counselor Murdish stepped forward. "Captain Morrison, if your engineer can truly make our systems work again, she will have whatever she needs. Administrator Kelvis will give her full access." Jake keyed the radio again. "Admiral, what about weapons? Even if we get the station working, we cannot fight those ships with what we have here." "Leave that to me, Jake. The Third Fleet is armed with every piece of primitive technology we could fit on our ships. Railguns, missile launchers, chemical explosives, and good old-fashioned nuclear warheads. The Devourers want to deal with primitive humans. They are going to get the full experience." The radio crackled with interference as one of the Devourer ships moved closer to the station. "Admiral, you are breaking up. How long until you arrive?" 6 hours, Jake. Hold the station. Until then, Hughes out." The radio went silent, leaving Jake and the alien representatives staring at each other in the flickering emergency lighting. Without the advanced power systems, Nexus Prime was running on backup generators that were already showing signs of strain. "Lisa, what do you need?" Jake asked. His chief engineer was already disassembling the human fusion reactor display. "I need to get to the station's main power core. If I can bypass their quantum energy matrix with a simple electrical grid, I can get basic power restored. Then I need to replace their computer systems with mechanical calculators and simple electrical circuits." "Will that actually work?" asked Commander Vexai, his colors shifting to what Jake recognized as desperate hope. "It will work," Lisa said confidently. "Yes. It will not be pretty, and it will not be efficient, but it will work. Human technology has one big advantage. It is too simple to break." Crystal Singer Thexfer made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "You are asking us to trust our lives to technology we consider primitive. Lady, your advanced technology got you into this mess," Lisa replied bluntly. "My primitive technology is going to get you out of it." Jake organized the alien representatives into work teams. The Zenthari, despite their energy-based biology, proved surprisingly good at handling mechanical tools. The Vextai used their natural ability to interface with living systems to help Lisa understand the station's bioneural backup networks. Even the Karthik, working without their crystal technology, contributed by using their natural mathematical abilities to calculate power distribution. Requirements. Lisa worked like a woman possessed, crawling through maintenance shafts with a toolkit that looked like it belonged in a museum. She ran copper wire through quantum conduits, installed mechanical switches next to energy manipulation controls, and replaced elegant alien computer interfaces with simple push-button panels. "This is not going to win any engineering awards," she muttered as she connected a human electrical generator to the station's main power grid. "But it will keep the lights on." Slowly, section by section, Nexus Prime began to come back to life. The artificial gravity stabilized as Lisa's mechanical systems took over from the failed quantum generators. Life support resumed normal operation using simple air pumps and filtration systems instead of the sophisticated atmospheric processors that had failed. Most importantly, the communication system came back online. Station Administrator Kelvas appeared on the main screen, his 6 arms moving frantically as he coordinated with other parts of the station. "Captain Morrison, your engineer has performed a miracle. We have basic systems restored throughout the station, but Captain... Kelvas paused, his expression grim. "Devourer ships are beginning to move toward us. I believe they have finished processing the first group of ships and are ready to begin on the station itself." Jake looked at the main viewer, which now showed a clear image of the approaching Devourer vessels. The massive ships moved with purpose, their mechanical arms reaching out toward Nexus Prime like the claws of some cosmic predator. "How long until they reach us?" "At their current speed, approximately 4 hours, Kelvas replied. Jake did the math in his head. Admiral Hughes and the Third Fleet would not arrive for 6 hours. That left them 2 hours on their own, against an enemy that had already proven it could neutralize the most advanced technology in the galaxy. But now, Nexus Prime was running on human technology. Simple mechanical, primitive human technology that the Devourers had never encountered before. "Lisa, how are our weapon systems?" His engineer looked up from a tangle of wires and mechanical components. "Captain, this is a civilian station. It does not have weapon systems." Jake smiled grimly. "Then, I guess we better make some." "How do you feel about turning a space station into the galaxy's biggest, most primitive weapons platform?" Lisa grinned. Back at him, grease smearing her face. "Give me 3 hours and some spare parts, and I will build you weapons that will make those Devourer ships wish they had never heard of humans." Around them, the alien representatives watched with growing amazement as the humans prepared to do something that went against every principle of advanced civilization. Fight a superior enemy using inferior technology and somehow expect to win. Jake looked at the approaching Devourer fleet and felt a familiar fire burn in his chest. Humanity had always been underestimated, and they had always proven their doubters wrong. It was time to do it again. The first Devourer ship reached Nexus Prime exactly when Administrator Kelvas had predicted. Jake Morrison watched from the station's command center as the dark vessel extended, its mechanical arms toward the outer docking ring. The arms moved, slowly, deliberately, like a spider approaching trapped prey. "Lisa, tell me you have something ready," Jake spoke into his communicator. "Captain, you are going to love this," came Lisa's voice, crackling with excitement and exhaustion. "Remember those chemical rocket engines we brought for the exhibition? I've turned them into the galaxy's most primitive missile system." Through the viewing port, Jake could see what Lisa had done. She had mounted the rocket engines on mechanical rails that ran along the station's outer hull. Each engine was loaded with a simple explosive warhead made from mining charges that the station used for asteroid processing. It looked crude, dangerous, and completely insane. "Will it work?" Jake asked.
"Captain?"
"It is basically a giant Roman candle loaded with dynamite. Of course it will work." The Devourer arm reached the outer docking ring and began to attach itself to the station's hull. Jake could feel the vibration through the floor as the alien ship started to connect its processing equipment to Nexus Prime. "All stations, this is Captain Morrison. Fire when ready." Lisa's voice came over the station-wide communication system, firing rocket number 1. The chemical engine ignited with a roar that shook the entire station. A stream of orange flame shot across space, carrying its explosive payload directly toward the Devourer ship. The aliens around Jake watched in amazement as the simple missile flew straight and true, guided by nothing more sophisticated than mechanical gyroscopes and basic mathematics. The explosion lit up the darkness as the mining charge detonated against the Devourer's hull. The massive ship shuddered, and its mechanical arm jerked away from the station as if it had been stung. "Direct hit," shouted Lisa over the communication system. The explosion created a hole in their hull about 10 meters wide. Jake felt a surge of hope. The Devourer ships might be advanced beyond understanding, but they were still made of metal and circuits. They could be damaged by old-fashioned explosives, but his hope was short-lived. As he watched, the hole in the Devourer ship began to close. Metal flowed like liquid, sealing the damage in a matter of seconds. "They have some kind of self-repair system," reported Kelvas from his sensor station. "The damage is already healing. Then we hit them harder," Jake replied. "Lisa, fire everything you have." The next few minutes turned Nexus Prime into a war zone. Lisa's improvised missile system fired rocket after rocket at the Devourer ships. The station shook with each launch, and the air filled with the smell of burning rocket fuel and explosive residue. It was loud, violent, and completely primitive by galactic standards, but it was working. The Devourer ships were taking damage faster than they could repair it. Their mechanical arms withdrew as the constant barrage of explosives made it impossible for them to maintain contact with the station. "Captain, I am reading energy buildup in the lead Devourer ship," called out one of the Zenthari technicians who was helping monitor the sensors. "I think they are preparing some kind of weapon." Jake grabbed his communicator. "Lisa, we need to move. Can you get the station's engines working?" "Captain, this is a space station. It does not have engines." "Then make some." There was a pause. Then Lisa's voice came back with the tone she used when she was about to do something particularly dangerous. "Captain, I can use the station's attitude thrusters and our ship's engines together. It will not be pretty, and it might tear the station apart, but I can move us. Do it." The station lurched violently as Lisa fired every thruster she could find. Nexus Prime was not designed to move like a ship, and the stress on its structure was enormous. But slowly, ponderously, the massive station began to change course, just in time. The lead Devourer ship fired a beam of dark energy that passed through the space where Nexus Prime had been moments before. Where the beam touched empty space, Jake could see stars simply disappear, as if they had been erased from existence. "What was that?" asked High Counselor Murdish, her voice shaking. "I do not want to find out," Jake replied. "Lisa, keep us moving." The battle continued for another hour. Lisa's rocket system fired continuously, keeping the Devourer ships at a distance, while the station slowly maneuvered through space using engines that were never meant for such work. It was crude, desperate, completely against every rule of space combat, but it was keeping them alive. Then Jake's communicator crackled with a new voice. "Nexus Prime, this is Admiral Hughes aboard the Iron Thunder. Sorry we are late to the party." Jake looked at the main viewer and felt his heart leap. The Third Fleet was dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 20 human warships, all bristling with the most primitive weapons Earth could build. "Admiral, you are a beautiful sight," Jake replied. "Jake, get that station clear. We are going to show these Devourers what human warfare looks like." The Third Fleet attacked with a savagery that shocked the alien observers. The human ships did not use elegant energy weapons or sophisticated tactics. They simply flew straight at the Devourer vessels and started shooting with everything they had. Railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missile launchers sent waves of chemical explosives toward their targets. Some ships even used simple projectile weapons that fired chunks of metal using nothing more than controlled explosions. The Devourer ships tried to use their scanning beams to disable the human fleet, but the beams had no effect. Human technology was too simple, too mechanical, too primitive for the Devourer weapons to understand or counter. Admiral Hughes had brought something special for the occasion. The Iron Thunder fired what appeared to be an old-fashioned nuclear missile, the kind that Earth had used centuries ago for planetary defense. The missile was guided by mechanical systems and powered by simple rocket fuel. When it hit the lead Devourer ship, the explosion was visible from across the system. The massive vessel, which had seemed invincible just hours before, split apart under the force of a primitive nuclear warhead. "That is for underestimating humans," Admiral Hughes said over the communication channel. The battle turned into a rout. The Devourer ships, designed to counter the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, had no defense against weapons that belonged in a museum. Their self-repair systems could not keep up with the constant bombardment of primitive explosives and kinetic weapons. One by one, the dark ships were destroyed by technology that the aliens had mocked just hours before. the Devourer's mechanical. Arms were blown off by missile strikes. Their hulls were torn apart by railgun slugs. Their energy systems were overloaded by the electromagnetic pulses from nuclear explosions. Jake watched the destruction with grim satisfaction. The Devourer Collective had made the same mistake that the alien delegates had made earlier, had assumed that primitive meant weak. They had learned too late that sometimes the most effective weapon is the simplest one. The last Devourer ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. The Third Fleet continued to fire until there was nothing left but scattered metal floating in space. "All Devourer vessels destroyed," reported Admiral Hughes. "Nexus Prime, are you secure?" Jake looked around the command center at the alien representatives, who had witnessed humanity save the galaxy using technology they considered primitive. Commander Vexai was flickering through colors Jake had never seen before. Crystal Singer Thexever stood in stunned silence. High Counselor Murdish was staring at the human fleet with something that looked like awe. "We're secure, Admiral, and I think we have some new friends who would like to learn more about human engineering." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Advanced did not always mean better. Sometimes the most sophisticated solution was also the most fragile one. And sometimes the species everyone underestimated turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. 3 days after the battle, Nexus Prime looked completely different. The elegant alien technology displays had been replaced with a mixture of human mechanical systems and alien equipment working together. The copper wires ran alongside crystal conduits. Simple electrical switches sat next to quantum field generators. It was not pretty, but it worked better than anything the station had ever had before. Jake Morrison stood in what had been the exhibition hall, watching Lisa Hayes train a group of alien engineers on basic human maintenance procedures. She was showing them how to use a wrench, one of humanity's oldest and most reliable tools. "The secret is knowing how hard to hit something," Lisa was explaining to a group of fascinated Zenthari technicians. "Too soft, and nothing happens. Too hard, and you break it. But just right, and you can fix almost anything." Commander Vexai was trying to hold the wrench with his energy-based form, his colors shifting through what Jake now recognized as intense concentration. "This mechanical approach is so direct," he said. "We have spent centuries developing elegant solutions when perhaps we should have been learning to use better hammers." Across the hall, Crystal Singer Thexver was working with human engineers to redesign Karthic energy systems. Her crystalline form rang like bells as she spoke. "Your electrical circuits are crude compared to our quantum field manipulation, but they cannot be easily disrupted. We wish to learn how to build systems that work even when everything else fails." Admiral Patricia Hughes walked over to join Jake at his observation point. She had remained at Nexus Prime to oversee the establishment of new defense protocols. "For the station, the Galactic Council has been calling non-stop," she told him. "Every species in the galaxy wants to know how humans defeated the Devourer Collective." "What are you telling them?" Jake asked. "The truth. That sometimes the best technology is the technology that just works." High Counselor Murdish approached them, moving with the careful dignity that Jake had come to expect from the Altarian. "Diplomat, Captain Morrison, Admiral Hughes. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's status in galactic affairs." Jake braced himself. The last time the aliens had made decisions about humanity, they had been mocked as primitive. He was not sure he wanted to hear what they thought now. "The Council has voted unanimously to establish the Human Galactic Engineering Initiative," Murdish continued. "We want human engineers to work with our best scientists to develop hybrid technologies that combine the elegance of our advanced systems with the reliability of your mechanical approaches." "You want us to make your technology more primitive?" Admiral Hughes asked, with a slight smile. "We want you to make our technology more dependable," Murdish replied seriously. "The Devourer attack showed us that we have become too dependent on systems that can be easily countered. Your people think differently than we do, and that difference saved all of our lives." Jake looked around the hall at the mixed groups of human and alien engineers working together. The Vextai were learning how to build mechanical backup systems for their bioships. Zenthari were studying human computer designs that used simple electrical circuits instead of quantum processing. Even species that Jake had never seen before were arriving to learn about human engineering. "There is something else," Murdish added. "The Council has decided that Nexus Prime will become the headquarters for galactic defense. We want humans to lead the effort to prepare for future threats." "Why us?" Jake asked. "You have species with much more advanced militaries." "'Cause you won," Murdish said simply. "When every other technology failed, yours worked. When every other strategy was useless, yours succeeded. We need leaders who can think in ways that our enemies cannot predict." A few weeks later, Jake found himself aboard a new ship. The Aurora's Dawn was a joint human-alien design that combined the best of both approaches. It had elegant Xanthari quantum drives for speed, but also human chemical rockets for backup. It carried sophisticated Karthic energy weapons, but also simple human railguns and missile launchers. The ship could think for itself using Vextai bioneural networks. But it also had mechanical backup controls that any human engineer could operate with basic tools. Lisa Hayes was the chief engineer, naturally. She had insisted on installing what she called percussive maintenance access ports throughout the ship, special panels that could be opened with a hammer if the electronic locks failed. Might not be the most advanced ship in the galaxy, she told Jake as they watched the mixed crew of humans and aliens work together in the engine room. "But I guarantee it will be the most reliable one." Robert Kane had been promoted to Galactic Diplomatic Liaison, a new position created specifically for humans. His job was to help other species understand human thinking, and to translate between the direct human approach and the more complex alien methods. "It is funny," he told Jake during their first mission briefing. "A month ago, they thought we were too primitive to participate in galactic civilization. Now they think we are exactly what galactic civilization needs to survive." Jake's new position was Galactic Defense Coordinator, which meant he was responsible for preparing the galaxy's defenses against future threats. His first order of business had been to establish supply depots filled with simple, reliable human technology throughout known space. Chemical explosives, mechanical tools, electrical generators, and basic radio equipment were now stockpiled on every major world. The next time someone shows up with weapons designed to counter advanced technology, Jake had explained to the Galactic Council, "We will be ready with technology so primitive that they will not know how to stop it." The Aurora's Dawn was on patrol near the galactic rim when Lisa detected something on her sensors. Jake joined her in the engine room, where she was studying readings that looked familiar but wrong. "Captain, I am picking up some kind of distress signal. It is coming from a ship using technology I do not recognize, but the signal format looks like..." She paused and checked her readings again. "It looks like our old radio systems from about 50 years ago." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "You saying there might be other humans out there?" "Or someone who learned to build technology the same way we do," Lisa replied. "Simple, reliable, and very hard to stop." Jake thought about the implications. Humanity had proven that primitive technology could be more effective than advanced systems. What if there were other species in the galaxy who had reached the same conclusion? What if the Devourer Collective had not been the only threat that required simple solutions to defeat? "Set course for the signal," Jake ordered. "Us go see who else in this galaxy knows the value of a good hammer." As the Aurora's Dawn changed course, Jake reflected on how much had changed since that day at the technology exhibition. Humanity had gone from being mocked as primitive to being respected as innovators. The galaxy had learned that advance did not always mean better, and that sometimes the most sophisticated solution was also the most vulnerable. The aliens had stopped laughing at human technology. Now they were learning from it, building hybrid systems that combined elegance with reliability. The galaxy was becoming more human in its thinking, more practical in its approach to problems. And somewhere out there in the darkness between stars, someone was broadcasting on a frequency that only humans were supposed to know how to use. Jake smiled as he watched the stars ahead. The galaxy was full of surprises, and humanity was ready for whatever came next. They had proven that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all. After all, nobody expects the primitive species to save the galaxy.